Good morning and welcome back to my allotment on this absolutely glorious February morning. The sun is shining. I have my first free weekend. Well, it's not the whole weekend. First free bit of a weekend. And I think the whole of February to come out and have a look at what's going on in the allotment. I want to do a tour with you today because I haven't done one in a really long time, and I think it's really useful to benchmark the changing of the seasons, and it's actually also quite useful just to look back on and think that stuff different in the course of the year, because sometimes, especially for me last year, when it felt like almost nothing really happened. But it is still February, and although the sun is shining, it's not really spring yet. Is it the equinox coming up in a couple of days? So the time in the year where the day and the night evens out, and officially we start to get the longer days. That is not until next week. So whilst at this time of year it might feel like there's a lot of pressure to get going in the garden, I know I feel it. My Instagram feed is filling up with influencers and content creators telling you all the things that you need to be doing right now, and other YouTube channels. This is my annual reminder to you that there's still plenty of time, and there is nothing that needs to be done right now. It is possible just to spend this time sitting in the sunshine, enjoying a nice cup of coffee and thinking about what you want to achieve in your gardens over the course of next year, without any pressure at all to be doing anything about it right now. That's definitely going to be my plan for today. The weather has been a bit wrapping, a bit awful recently. And so I have had a bit of an opportunity to think about the plans and what I want to execute in this space this year. If it's helpful and you would like me to show you that and talk you through my approach to planning the garden, then let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll make that a video next time. Today is the first time I've been in my allotment other than to drop off compost since the last video I recorded. And on that video I was full of enthusiasm for and excitement for things to come. And I haven't lost that, but it's just been really difficult to do anything else with it. But I did have a really big disaster in the stormy weather threw over my mini greenhouse, and all of the plants that had been overwintering in there went everywhere. At that particular point in time, I was running out of the door to a meeting, so I had no time to sort out that problem. I had just picked it up, put everything in the shed, and today is the first day I'm getting back to it. So I am going to very tentatively now open up the shed and see if anything is still alive. All of the beautiful sweet peas that I had growing got thrown out of their pot. Some of them are surviving, and if there is one job I get to do today, it's going to be to try and salvage as many of those as possible. Everything else has just been in the shed for several weeks, and there's a strong chance that it's all died. So let's go and find out.
So this is the state of everything that's just come out of the shed and the greenhouse. You can see that what was calendula is looking pretty sad. The mallops are not looking great, and I think the cabbages are dead. Can't tell if that's a mallop or a cabbage. The Sarracenia, one is alive. I think one is definitely dead. Corn salad actually has survived quite well. I've lost all of the snapdragons. Can't remember what that was. The new sweet peas that I sowed in January are just starting to come out, and they're the old ones that need rescuing. I have brought the greenhouse back outside, and I have changed the orientation so that it is fully and firmly situated on the paving slabs.
and I found these pockets, which I'm guessing are to put weights in, so I've just put some bricks in that. And we hope for the best. I'm going to give everything here a nice water and start looking into replanting. This is the mess that's in my shed. We're not looking at that right now. That is not a today problem. Okay, so whilst those plants are just soaking up the watering, I shall get on with the tour. We will begin the tour, as always, outside the shed. And I'm just going to leave the disaster as it is, and we will commence the tour regardless. So first up, I think we've dealt with the greenhouse, but that is the new situation for the greenhouse. We have the plum tree, which I planted with you back in December, and the little pots of daffodils that I put out are starting to emerge. There is life there. I'd really like to develop this with some more wildflowers, or spring bulbs, probably more than wildflowers, to be truly accurate, for next autumn. Hopefully I will remember in time. Moving on. The black currant. There is lots and lots and lots of buds on this. I am very hopeful for a blackcurrant harvest this year. Didn't get any last year, so hopefully this year. There's a little thyme down there that is still just about holding on. And the encroaching strawberries, full of weeds. One day I will do something about that, but today is not the day. What is exciting is the re-emergence of the rhubarb. Hopefully it's going to be a strong rhubarb year. I got loads of rhubarb last year. It was really, really good. So I'm really looking forward to rhubarb season. And then we've got, in amongst all these weeds, a lemon balm for tea, and hopefully to spread ground cover and drown out all of these weeds, which also need to be dealt with. No sign yet of the wild garlic. I don't know if I need to be worried about that. I did have to move it when I put the new bed in, the pig pen. So maybe it's going to come back, maybe it isn't. Cherry tree, look at those buds. Look at them. I think I did actually get 4 cherries on this tree last year, but they got eaten by birds before I got anywhere near them. With all those buds, I am hopeful. On the list of priority projects is to fill this bed with topsoil. This is going to be on the plan, because this is the sunniest spot in the garden. This is going to be where tomatoes and cucumbers go. So I need to fill it up, probably not until June, May maybe at the earliest, for tomatoes to go out. Build some kind of, is trellis the right word? Something that the cucumbers can climb up. And hope for a warm summer so that they thrive. Compost bins, I've decided, are going to stay here. At one point I was talking about moving them to another part of the garden, but I actually think that this still is the right place for them to be. Moving into this bed, where I just sort of threw a random assortment of leftovers last year. This was where I put the garlic chives, which I think are still there, although at the same time could be grass. I don't know. There's a lot of grass in this bed that needs to be taken out. And potentially spring onions. There's some kales in here that I overwintered. There was some dill. Let's see if any dill survived. I don't think it did. At one point I did have germination, but then it's been cold. So I think the dill and the parsley have perished. But there's some more kale. These are going to start to grow quite big from now on, and be ready in the early spring. Same with this cabbage. And the chard. And the Welsh onions are coming back. This is exciting because they did all completely die in the frost, and I thought that they would never come back, but they are coming back. Less sure about the French tarragon, but this golden sage is just about holding its own, and there is I think that's marjoram, which is also looking quite good. I just need to get rid of that creeping buttercup. Ooh, there's more alive here, and I can actually just see on the other side. I'm holding the microphone, so I can't point. Let me see how I can figure this out. Okay, let's hope that works. Just about there, on the camera, is a row of pak choi. Oh, I thought nothing survived the winter, and yet there is an abundance of things happening in this bed. I'm very excited. On the plan for this year, this bed is going to turn into my fruit bed. So this is where I'm going to plant out the raspberries, and I will slowly start to either pull out or relocate anything in here that's viable. So these herbs particularly might end up being relocated. In the middle bed, all of the salads have died, apart from a couple, but they're not looking exactly edible. There is a red cabbage there though that looks like it's going to start to thrive. A thriving green cabbage. Another green cabbage that isn't exactly thriving but didn't die. I still don't know what happened to all the leeks that I planted in this bed. I think the parsley has perished for good. That was the parsley that wouldn't die, but has now moved on from this world and is just covered in buttercup instead. My amazing snapdragon. A snapdragon's biannual. Maybe that's why it's thriving so well. And there's some perpetual spinach in there that's doing pretty good as well. This middle bed is actually been designated for this year to become my cut flower bed. So again, as I start to clear everything out, as things get used up, I will be replacing it with cut flowers. My wonky tower. Need to do something to reinforce that. This top bed. Ooh, try not to trip over. I've got some more perpetual spinach. There was some wild rocket which just hasn't really done anything. These were plug plants that I bought, and they either needed more protection or they weren't very good. Either could be true, and I'm going to err on the side of they needed more protection because we have had snow and frost and a pretty cold winter. So the fact that they're still alive is probably a good sign, and maybe as we move into the early spring these will start to thrive. Sadly, the 9-star broccoli, which has resurrected itself from near death more times than I care to think about, is definitely dead this time. Right down in the roots there, it's soft with frost damage. So that is something to remember for next year. This is going to be a generalist bed this year, as it has been the whole time. but I am prioritising for the early spring building a cover so that I can protect whatever is in here from the weather and also from caterpillars and butterflies. The rest of this bed we'll deal with as we go down. Back at the top by the allotment, there's the rosemary. That's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, I think. Don't have any concerns about the rosemary. Always delighted to see that the oregano has survived the winter in this little sheltered corner. So that's also going to do really well this year, I believe. Quietly hopeful. Got a purple sage. It looks like it's struggling a little bit, but let's hope for the best. It survived terrible weather, and there's a thyme there as well that's doing really well. We've got more pak choys and salad things. The salad things don't look so good. Over there is another thyme. Beetroot, which has done really nothing. I'm very surprised. Beetroot is normally pretty stable, consistent. I normally do quite well with beetroot, so I'm just really surprised that this stuff seems to have done absolutely nothing. But again, as we start to get into the early spring, it might pick up and start to develop, so we'll give it a bit more time. It's done nothing by the end of March. It's going. And this is a winter savoury, which actually looks pretty happy here. And this is where it's going to stay too. Again, so many weeds, but I will be tackling them as we go. Behind me, a pot of raspberries. No buds yet. I didn't know whether or not I was supposed to cut this back. I didn't cut it back the previous year and I still got loads of raspberries, so. A pot of petunias, I think, that I forgot to pot up last time. Another raspberry. A blueberry. Looking divine. I don't think I need to wax lyrical about a blueberry any more than I have done over the years. They are my favourite and no garden is complete without them. End of story. This one's the pinkberry. It's massive. Got quite a lot of pink blueberries off of this last summer, so hopeful that we will get more this year. And then the garlic, also thriving. I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 varieties in here, including some elephant garlic, which are these big ones, although I only seem to have 2, pretty sure I planted 8, but we will see. The lettuces here are looking pretty tragic, so they're going to be early to depart. One lonely pak choy in the middle. Everything else here died in the frosts. This is going to be another just generalist bed this year, and I think I shared this in a previous video, I've got one more bed to build here, and my aim is to move the gate into the middle, because that path isn't really wide enough due to the footprint of the garage for bringing things like the wheelbarrow through, and that will leave this space. I've got another one of those tin beds that I will put in a narrow orientation, so long and narrow. This gets a lot of sun, and those concrete walls radiate a lot of heat, so that's going to be a really good place for soft fruits and more tomatoes probably. This year is the year I will assemble the greenhouse. That's going to go there, and then we'll have completed all of the full architecture of the garden, and I'll know what pockets I've got left for other things. For example, this apple tree, which has just been in this pot for at least 5 years, maybe 7. Did I get these in 2017 or 2018? A long time. That needs to go in the ground. So when the greenhouse is assembled, I'll know where I've got space for that to go, and it might go in that corner where the gate is currently. And the pond is looking a bit sad. The plants are doing all right, but I need to get all of those leaves out. This is not a big enough pond that it can cope with that many leaves in it. I've been pulling them out, dredging them a bit as I go, but that is due another big push. So this is where we're at. I've temporarily come in from the gloriousness of outside to try and do something about the sweet peas. I've already fallen over a bag of compost and tried to do a little bit of reorganisation so that I don't hurt myself really badly. But yes, we're going to see what it is that we can do. I'm going to try and angle the camera so that you can see what I'm doing. I don't really have a good way of doing that. So we will see what we can conjure up. Is this going to work maybe? I'm not sure. Pin the microphone somewhere useful, so sorry if you just heard a bit of rustling while I was doing that. So what I've got here and what I'm going to attempt to do is transfer or transplant as many of these sweet peas into a new tray. The first thing I'm going to do is try and take some of the sweet peas out. So I have this little tool. There's a small trowel. These ones actually look quite healthy. And so do these ones in these first 2 trays. They are still very much alive in there. So instead we might need to focus on, rather than transplanting, maybe we just need to top it up. There's the best angle for you to be able to see. So this guy and this one here, although that's gone really shallow, that sweet pea has actually re-rooted itself in the soil and created new roots out of its stem, which is super clever. So for that one, I might just top up a little bit of extra soil so that those roots and the old roots can really get established. Okay. What next? This is starting to feel more like sort of archaeological excavation than gardening. Okay, in the next one, I just had to pause to cough. In the next one, again, I've got 2, 3 plants, 4 plants. That one's not looking so well. Just going to trim off my secateurs, a little bit of dead stem. secateurs need sharpening. Again, really just top it up a little bit. This guy needs to go and be repotted, or a repotting actually. I don't know what suddenly got in the back of my throat, causing me to cough. I'm going to use the dibber, and I'm going to dib it in. Hopefully you can see. Dip it into the hole, as if, so it's got roots here and it will develop new roots there, and then I'm just going to top it up. So it turns out that what I thought was a tray of completely dead plants is actually just a demonstration of utter resilience and a capacity to survive no matter what, because all of these plants are fully alive. Most of them have taken root or started to grow roots from new parts of the stem, and didn't need any intervention at all. I've just topped up the compost in all of the modules. I have got 3 modules with no surviving plants at all, so I'm just going to take from my leftovers and plant some new seeds. So, just topping up the modules with some fresh compost. For those of you who are maybe new to the channel or haven't watched many of my gardening videos, I do use a seed sowing compost when I'm planting seeds, and that is because I don't use a lot of multi-purpose compost in the rest of the garden. So seed sowing compost is absolutely not a requirement. You can just take a good peat-free multi-purpose compost. You might need to sieve it so that it's fine and doesn't have loads of lumps in it, which just makes a tiny little seedling life a bit easier. But you don't have to buy seed sowing compost. I just tend to only buy seed sowing compost and use other things in other parts of the garden. So I don't tend to top up my beds with compost. I tend to use things like manure and topsoil and things that they like mulches for weed suppressants and stuff like that. So they are not suitable for seed sowing, which is why I buy seed sowing compost. But if you are a gardener who just uses multi-purpose compost for everything, then use multi-purpose compost for your seed sowing. There is a lot of gardening is one of those places that people try to really overcomplicate it and make things seem like create loads of barriers to entry that I just personally do not subscribe to, and choice of compost is one of them. The only thing that is really necessary today is to use a peat-free compost, and the best peat-free compost that you can afford for your and manage in your budget. There is no such thing as a sustainable peat-based compost. Peat takes thousands of years per square metre to create, so it's going to take thousands of years to replenish if you get rid of it, and we don't live in a society where we're prepared to give things that time. So yeah, no such thing as sustainable peat-based compost. Just buy the best quality peat-free compost that your budget allows, and you will have really great results. I don't personally believe that any one individual's garden justifies the destruction of our entire planet. And peat needs to live where it lives to support carbon sinking and other ecological benefits. So that's just my little preach for today. Whilst I've been preaching at you, I have just taken 4 seeds, sweet pea seeds, and each of my 3 modules I've dibbed 4 holes in each of the corners, and I've dropped a seed into each. I'm just going to pop this back outside, give it a water because I have put some fresh and new compost in there, and then find a home for this in the newly relocated mini greenhouse. That is everything that I have time for today. I've got to run off and do a bunch of other errands. Thank you so much for watching. Please do let me know what you've been doing in your gardens this week, or what plans you have for your gardening year, if you, like me, taking a slow start to the spring. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.